Welcome to the podcast, Entrepreneur Perspectives, building and protecting your business one podcast at a time, a CADSource production. In this episode, I chat with Ryan Skinner, president of Summit Financial Partners, a Massachusetts-based firm and the author of Taking Stock. This episode exists because of CADSource. CADSource is your content team. You know how many business leaders need help communicating their story? That's what we do. Content strategy, creation, and distribution for business leaders. This provides opportunities, relationships, and a platform for you and your business. Why do we do this? Because at CADSource, we exist to help you create and share amazing content. And yes, you should have a podcast. We'll help you. Learn more by visiting CADScontent.com. Ryan's story includes a serious battle with addiction. The addiction and his behavior landed Ryan in prison and almost taking his own life. Ryan said he was not wired for jail. This ultimately led him to having a second chance at life. From family to his business, Ryan has stories we need to hear. Summit specializes in retirement planning, life insurance, long-term care, and disability insurance. Ryan also regularly speaks to high school students and inmates enrolled in a drug program at the Middlesex House of Corrections. Let's welcome to the podcast, Ryan Skinner. This is a conversation and we'll just go. That's how I like to do it and bounce around a little bit. If that works, sounds like it probably works for you.
Yeah, that's how I work best.
Yeah, that's good. Where are you right now? Where are you driving through?
I'm literally pulling to a parking lot at the school where my daughter goes, but obviously it's closed. When I was driving back, I had to run a quick errand, get some lunch earlier. And then I just kind of took a little downtime and just relaxed. I ended up going to sit by this little lake and just chill out for a little bit. It gets hectic, cool. You know what I mean? And the bigger your practice gets, the more hectic it gets. You always think that to a certain point, I always thought you get to a certain point in life and it just gets easier. What I realized is it's the only thing that changes is food change. You know, if I choose to slow it down and take deep breaths and enjoy life, it's enjoyable. If I try to shit like a nut, then it doesn't go well.
Yeah. That's good, man. So your daughter, though, what's their situation with her school?
It goes like this. I'm on the finance board there, and I'll be honest, they go back, but they're also doing virtual stream, like live stream.
Okay.
I'm having to do live stream. I'm just nervous. You know, it doesn't look good because I'm on the board there, and they want me to kind of set her back. But honestly, I don't think they get this thing buttoned down yet. I don't think they really. She's in third grade.
Yeah, and it's a public school, I would imagine, up in Mass, right?
Catholic school, it's private school.
It's a Catholic school. Okay.
But still, they don't have.
Well, they're good schools up there, though, right? I mean,
true.
Yeah, it's tough. My kids, it's actually funny. My youngest is going every day because she's in fourth grade. My other two, they alternate days. And so he wanted less distraction. So he came to my office with me. So he's in my office next to me, which is really cool.
That's what I'm going to do with her. I'm going to bring her to my office.
That's it. Yeah, we're going to decorate his stuff. And because a lot of our people are working remotely right now in that way, and they're doing great and it works out. We actually just took a walk. So you're talking about being at the lake. We ordered some lunch and had it delivered here. And we just went out for a walk. We were laughing and catching up, and it's cool. You find the ways to do it.
Yeah, I'm excited. My wife works 2 days a week. But the 2 days my wife works, my daughter will come to work with me. And honestly, I'm excited. Okay. You know, it's going to be it'll be a little distracting. That's all right. Life's supposed to be busy.
Yeah, and you've seen a lot of distractions in your way. As I was reading through, and then we're just going here, man. We're just going to bounce around, like I said. As I was reading something about your story, you talked about everything on the outside. This is when you were starting to kill it a little bit, as they say in business. Everything from the outside perspective, everything seemed really good. Like, man, Ryan's doing really well. And you even, sounds like, played that part really well and just kept on doing it and continued to have success and make some money. And there's this whole thing about outside perspective that's getting big right now because social media, right? Instagram, probably Facebook, obviously too, are platforms that show if someone goes on a vacation, you hear this stuff all the time. They might have had a miserable vacation, but they had that one picture by the lake or by the ocean and everyone was happy. And not to say that people are having miserable times all the time, but there is this outside perspective. It's the fear of missing out. There's just the uncertainty, and it creates mental health issues. It creates depression. It could just little ticks over time just add up. And it's very frustrating. And I'm fascinated by the fact that, like you talked about earlier on, for you, the outside perspective, no one would have even thought for a second that Ryan had something going on. Behind the scenes, it actually wasn't what it looked like from everyone else's point of view. Do you see that a lot today with people? I mean, obviously you're sponsoring people. Yeah.
My biggest thing is I see people, like you said, everybody has a mask on. And it's weird because we feel like in this world we're supposed to be somebody. It's supposed to be something. Guy asked me the other day, one of the guys who works with me, one of his friends said, you know, Ryan, you put up really big numbers. It must be, what's it like? What's it like? I'm like, buddy, I'm the same goof that I was years ago. I said, I don't take myself too seriously. To be honest with you, all the people that buddy him up when you're on top will kick you in the teeth when you're at the bottom. It's just about being right with yourself. It took me a long time. Like you said, my 20s, on the outside, I was putting up some numbers, but on the inside, I was like, I was dying inside. I was so lonely. I mean, a room full of people, and I was dying. I was lonely.
Yeah. Man, you started off in certain areas. I mean, tell me about that, because like where you were and where you went to then where you are today, you're obviously seeing it with other people. When did it start? Like, was it, and I think I read this, just having a couple of drinks at lunch, a couple of drinks after work? That?
I'll tell you, when I was little, I didn't drink, and we went out to high school. I didn't drink much. I pretended to, but I was just wanting to fit in. Here's the math. The insecurity.
Okay.
I just want to be. If I was with you, I wanted to be like you. If I was with so and so, I want to be a tough guy. If I was with so and so, I was kind. I just wore a mask wherever I went. So I was an alcoholic, and he wasn't the greatest guy. So I never want to be an alcoholic. When I finally alcohol gave me late high school, early college, I started feeling better, looking stronger. I would only drink on like a weekend or if I had time off, because I knew one thing: I didn't drink well. So if I started to drink, I didn't know where the next few days would go. What happened in this industry? So I'd taken time off. When I was graduating college, I asked my dad if I could move back in. And he had thrown me out in college because I was living like a jackass. And I said, Dad, can I move back in? He said, you can, Ryan, but here's the deal. The BMW you bought, your mother could drive that. You could drive her Volkswagen with a bungee cord holding the hood down. He said, the cash you made when you were gambling and all that other stupid stuff you did, I want that money. Give it to me. And I did. He said, all right. And he said, you have a 10 p.m. curfew 7 days a week. I would never agree to that, but I did. Because I wanted to be like him. At one point, I looked at my dad. He didn't have a lot of money. He didn't have this and that, but he had integrity. And I wanted that. And for a solid 9 months, I lived at my parents' house. I didn't drink. I didn't do anything wrong. When I bought my 2-family at that point, they helped me save my house. I saved my money. They guided me. And when I moved in with me. All my problems, nobody around me to keep me buffered. And that's when it started. And it was my it's financial insecurity. I'll do drinks at lunch. And then next week.
Yeah.
So when you're hooked on the opioids can take your soul. I'm going to be honest with you. When you're taking a perk, I have a surgery. And then once, I'll tell you, when it started getting, the alcohol increased. But once I had surgery, they gave me OxyContin. It was lights out. That took my soul. And from that point on, I didn't have a choice.
Wow. So when you get Percocet, because right now, so my wife just had shoulder surgery, and it wasn't Percocet, it was oxycodone, I think.
Oxycodone,
you get those different. So I think it started there. It was not easy to even get it, and she doesn't have an addictive personality. I guess a lot of people could say that, but I guess my point there is, even going back to CVS, like they couldn't refill it.
No,
they wouldn't. And then you call the doctor, and then they go to the next level, and then you're on Advil or Tylenol soon. Pretty quickly. When you had your surgery, were you able to get access to it from your doctor, from the pharmacy?
I'm going to tell you this. When I was younger, I used to hang out with guys who were tough guys. So again, I wanted to be a tough guy. So in my early 20s, I remember a guy giving a Rolex to a drug dealer for one oxycontin because he was that sick, dope sick, pain sick.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I'm 25. I have this big surgery. And they said, we found a couple of things inside you. We're going to put you on OxyContin. Now, I'm going to tell you, I wasn't in pain. I'll be honest with you. I used to love perks, but I knew to stay away from OT. Suddenly, when the doctors prescribed it, though, they were giving them out like Tic Tacs back then. And the doctor, I said, you know what? At 26, who becomes an addict at 26? So I took them.
Right.
Within a month and a half, I was a full-blown addict.
Man, you hear that a lot with athletes, right? A lot of athletes who have constant pain.
I've been fortunate enough to talk to guys like Brett Favre and there's a hockey player, Theo Fleury, I think his name. Theo, played in Calgary Flames.
Yep.
I've been fortunate enough, through the cycle of addiction, it turned out to be a blessing. I met some really good folks. Yeah, we had Theo Fleury on the podcast, and he talked a lot about his story. Man, so the outside perspective and then getting hooked on that. Where were you growing up? I grew up between Melrose and Somerville. A lot of my family's in Somerville. I stayed there a lot. My parents lived in Melrose. Okay. I had a good upbringing. I'm going to be honest with you. I had 2 aunts and uncles that loved me like I was their own kid. My parents loved me to death. Neither parent, neither aunt, those 2 aunts and uncles, none of them were addicts or alcoholics. My cousin's aunt,
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I was the last one to drink. All those kids, they'd party, do this and that. I was the last one in the game. And but I had that ism. And I'll tell you, man, when I put something in my body, I can't even eat chocolate safely. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah. Were you going out, like when you went out at night, would you go to the bars and were there a lot of fights happening? Like, 'cause you're hanging out with a lot of tough guys. So there's a lot of drug deals going on, probably a lot of fights happening.
When I was in my early 20s, I was around that stuff. By my mid-20s, I'll be honest, I wasn't a tough guy. I learned really early on after a few hand surgeries that I didn't fight well. So by 22, I was done hanging out with tough guys. They were the tough guys. I was just the goofy kid who hung out with them, who wanted to be like them. Once those guys started going to like prison for 10-year sentences, like real tough guy, wise guy stuff.
Okay.
I backed off. I was like, listen, you guys are tough. I'm just an indoor cat.
Okay.
That wasn't who I was. You know who I was? I was a sick guy. At the end, my last charge I got charged for, I wasn't a fight, but I was just drunk and disorderly. I wasn't nothing impressive. I was just a jackass. And I was like the village bum at the end. I was the guy that people were like, oh, it's so sad. He used to have a lot going for him. When I got back on my feet, I got out of jail, and I was going to move. I didn't want to be in the same community. I was embarrassed. My mother said, no, you come on, back on your feet where you fell on your face. You'll be proud of yourself. Yeah. You know what? Pushed me to do that. 30 years old, and I was 29, whatever I was.
Right.
And I did that because now I can look anybody in the eye. And there are people that don't like me. I'm okay with that and say, hey, wronged you, I apologize. If I can make it right, let me know.
Yeah. You had a lot going for you. What do you think? Like, what was going for you? Was it sports? Was it your school, education, friends, family?
I wasn't well educated. Well, I mean, I'll tell you, in 7th grade, I had a teacher who introduced me to stocks and introduced me to Peter Lynch, formerly Fidelity. So I knew in 7th grade, I was a housekeeper by day, offices at night. And now here I knew in 7th grade, I found something. A dyslexic, learning disabled student now knows you can be a stockbroker. And I knew it. And at a young age, I knew. It wasn't until later in my career that I said, I'd be the fixed side, the insurance side, because I didn't like the ups and downs of the market.
Yeah.
I'd refer that. So at a young age, I knew what I wanted to do. I'm a big believer. You visualize, you hold it in your mind, it happens. Everything I wanted to happen. And I tried this because you could tell me like, well, you had this, you had that. When I was at the bottom and I was homeless, I was in jail, I started writing down my goals and holding them in my mind and visualizing them. And I read it somewhere and I thought it was crazy. And at night I'd be going to bed and you'd hear the cell door slam and I'd hold it in my mind. This is where I'm going to be. And I hold it in my mind. Every goal I set, no BS. Every goal I set, I've hit. I'd be able to start a program. The same jail I did time in, I run a program at now. I volunteer there. I built a business well beyond anything except for a goal. I married the girl of my dreams. We were 25. We were engaged. She had to run for her life. She grind. You're out of control. About 10 years later, she saw me on TV for a charitable thing, wrote me an email, and now we're married. 5 years later, we're married with 2 kids.
Wow. Yeah.
Every gift, everything I ever imagined, believe me, the gifts not the car. Listen, I drive a nice car, I have a nice home. That's not the good stuff. Good stuff is like when I see I'm working in jail with a guy, I see that light go up in his eyes. Like, hey, this guy's getting it. This guy's getting a shot at life. When one of my former guys in my jail program sends me a text message, a picture of his car, and he finally got a driver's license. He's got a car. Like, I'm moved by that. You know what I mean? It's bigger than me.
Yeah. Jail. You said it was a fight. Is that what got you in there?
Yeah, I was in a fight. I was on probation, so I was in a fight while already on probation, drunk. Not allowed to be drunk.
Yeah. How long were you in jail for?
God, not long. Like maybe 3 months. Then they put me in a program. I asked for treatment after. I didn't want to go back home because I knew I needed treatment.
Okay. You're still 3 months. You say it's not long. Like, good luck. One night is bad enough, right? Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, you don't know where you stand in life. So you sit in jail and like the guy next to you is up on murder charge. You're like, oh, this ain't good.
Yeah.
And luckily they were good guys. Those were the nicest guys. It was the guys who were the drug addicts. Guys like me that were the biggest weasels,
Wow. When you get out, is that when you went into the 12-step program?
Yeah, when I got out, I was introduced to a 12-step program. I was introduced before then. I used to have a guy come by my house and he'd bring me lunch every day. And I'd be drunk on the floor. I'd be laying there with like a needle in my arm. Like he'd be like, "You're gonna be okay." I'm like, "Buddy, you have a 6-figure job. You're wearing a suit. You're married. Why are you wasting your time on me? There's got to be better things for you to do. You're a director at a hospital. Go spend your time somewhere." He'd say, "You're gonna be all right." I was there once. When I was in jail, this guy called my mother, checked in on her. He didn't even know my mother. Never met her before. Called this little old Irish lady and let her cry. He'd visit me in jail. When I got out, he started sponsoring me more. He was trying before, but there was no hope. When I was clear-headed, we worked on it, and it worked. I don't know how to describe it. At some point, call God, call spirit. I'm not real religious, but I'm spiritual. It's something out there that when it clicked, it was like, boom, and I knew it. I had it in my chest. And then over time, I learned how to bring that same spark into my business, into my mentoring, and it's been great. Not always easy, but it's great.
Was that your sponsor? Was that, and I might get the name wrong, I saw before, Billy?
No, you got it. Yeah, no, you're pretty good, buddy.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So that was him, and he took a chance. You didn't really go for it. You come out the other end of it, and you took the 12-step program, and obviously made a huge difference in your life. And you're a part of it now because you're sponsoring other people.
Yeah, that's the only way you keep it is by paying it forward.
Yeah. What was the 12-step program like? You can read about it. You hear the stories. Was it, obviously it's not easy from your perspective and you living it. Like, what was it like?
Well, it's funny. I'm going through it now again with a different guy. So I said to my sponsor, I want to have a different experience this time. I want to go through with a different guy's also named Billy. I'll tell you,
Okay.
I just feel like every few years, I think you should go through it, just clean up some wreckage of the past. It's a lot of work. Believe it or not, it's a lot of journaling, but I like journaling. Because when I was getting out of jail, I was in a 3-month program. The state put me in. And it was, you were locked in there. It was like jail, but you had beds and you had treatment. And this woman, my sponsor, my counselor, and she was like an old crackhead lady who was in recovery, but she looked like a crackhead. She said, I want you to pray to God tonight. And I said, where the belief was God when I was younger, when this happened to me and I got abused, when this happened, where was God? You tell me where God was. I was just in jail. Where was God during all this? I lost everything I worked for.
Yeah.
That was life, Ryan. She goes, but there's something out there. She goes, so here's what's going to happen. You're going to write a letter to God every night to open up the communication. I said, I'm not doing it. She said, okay, I'll call your probation officer. You go back to jail. I said, all right, I'll write the letter to God. So, needless to say, jail taught me one thing. I'm not wired for jail. So I ended up doing it. In the first week, it was like, tell me you can curse at it if you want. So I write a letter. F you, where were you here? Where were you there? Blah, blah, blah. By the end of a week or two, it was like, hey, I had a decent visit from my parents. And thank you. Hey, I had iced coffee today. Somebody stuck me in a coffee. Thank you. Hey, I slept well last night for the first time in ages. Thank you. And before I knew it, it just took off, and little by little. And to this day, I still write a letter. So the steps work. It's a lot of journaling, but it was easy for me because I was used to, the only way I get emotion out is pen to paper.
Yeah. Did you ever go off of journal? Like you go in these habits, right? You get in these habits and maybe fall off, right? You stop journaling. Did you ever have those situations? Okay. Did you start beating yourself up earlier on when you weren't doing it?
I did. When I'd fall off, I'd beat the hell out of myself. And then I realized, like, you gotta go easy on yourself. Like, life's an experience. Like, we're not meant to be victims of it, especially victims of ourselves. So I started slowing down. Next thing I knew, I was like, it's okay to fall off. If I get busy, it's okay to, if I fall asleep while I'm saying my prayers at night, I used to, like, hang myself. Oh, God. Like, I used to think God was going to come down with a lightning bolt. I mean, I was raised Irish Catholic. God was up there. I was down here, and the only time I felt it was a lightning bolt in my ass. But now, my idea of God or spirituality is, it's a loving, forgiving, just an energy that I tap into that makes me stronger than I would be without it.
Dead Men on Vacation, right? And that was at Billy's house, I think you talked about. That's a great name because you guys were saying that you should have been dead.
Yeah.
And that's why then you guys went. And were you just talking? Was this a place where many guys got together?
Yeah. It's funny, it was at my house. So I said to the guys back then, I said, why don't we have a meeting at my house? And I said, what we'll do is we'll get together. I'll grill sausages. And we'll all hang out and have a meeting. So we did that, and it grew and grew. And now it's tonight. I'll be there tonight. It's outside because of the virus, and we're in a huge area, and it lives on. Now there's probably about 100 guys who've gotten sober at that meeting. It started with 8 of us in my living room. So it's kind of cool. And it's nice.
Is there like an agenda to this?
Yeah, it's an AA meeting. Now it's in the AA book.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
now it's in the meeting book.
So they're showing. Okay.
It's step-based. So.
Yeah. You talk about peace of mind because you talk about it in the financial space, and it sounds like you talk about it in your own head, right? And obviously, life insurance is an example. So we have an insurance business and life insurance brokerage, work with wealth advisors, insurance agents, just the likes. And it's interesting because I know my grandfather, he was in the business in Niagara Falls, New York, and he was a general agent for John Hancock. And I got this video of him, and he talked about peace of mind because in life insurance, like, you can hold a policy, but you don't really have anything, right? It's intangible and it's out there, but it gives you this peace of mind. And I've heard something even more is peace from mind. So you don't get caught up in your head. You don't get inside your own head.
I like that. I never feel that. I never heard that, but I like that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really good. So, and it wasn't me. I'd gotten it from Naval Ravikant. And so anyway, I think that's something interesting that you talk about it quite a bit with peace of mind in the insurance space, but more from what you're doing now, because like you were just saying, you could beat yourself up from it. That was former you. And you might still get caught up in that every once in a while, but you're ultimately going for this peace of mind. That's got to be a big part of your life, it sounds like.
Yeah, I try to always accept where I'm at, not try to rush myself. With business, it's funny. I've tried to slow it down and just relax. Like when I'm in meetings, I don't have an agenda because I've learned in life, if you keep it simple, you don't need to make money. Money will flow to you. You know what I mean? If you don't, like, for example, I don't live a fast lifestyle. So I don't need to make, whether a client comes in and moves forward or not, I'm okay. As a result, people want to work with you because they know you're not trying to like shove something down their throat.
Yeah. It sounds like the second chance, like you go to jail, you have this addiction, you're really trying to recover. Like you had your chance and you blew it. And then you got your second chance at life. Yeah. And that seems to me like when someone walks in your office, it's, if they don't decide to work with you, like you're going to move on. Like they get to make their decision based off of everything that you present. But you have this second chance, everything seems to be a positive. It seems to be you encourage other people, you encourage yourself, your family, your daughter. You're excited to spend time with them. If it's going to disrupt your time at the office because your daughter's there, you're actually going to see the positive sides of that. Like you don't typically have this opportunity.
I don't get too upset. I mean, I'll get frustrated. The only thing I get frustrated with is if a client needs some service from us and somebody in my office drops the ball. That frustrates you because I feel like these people trust us with their life and they deserve better. But when it comes to people coming in, they're right people. I look at it this way. I'm very transparent. I don't hide anything about my history. My thought is you can either deal with the real me or you're not going to go on. But that's okay. I mean, I still wear polo shirts. I don't care if there's track marks. Like, ask me questions, I'll give you answers. But my thought is I want people to just, if they become part of the Summit family, it's like a family vibe. I want them to really, they'll know my wife, my kids, I'll know their kids. I want them to really fit and feel like, and like, be there for the right reason, not under false pretense.
Yeah. When did you decide to write a book? The book, Taking Stock?
Funny, somebody approached me in 2014. I wasn't willing to be that transparent about my life. I was too nervous to affect business. 2015, 16, and then somebody said, why don't you just write it? It'd be good for clients to read. At least if you put it out there, you can put out the truth rather than BS, because every so often, when you have a history like mine, every so often the state will try to cause problems or somebody will try to cause problems for you. And the trick is, if you come out with the truth first, people can't come out with lies.
Yeah. So it's like the movie 8 Mile, and they talk about it with Eminem.
Yeah.
And he said everything that you had to say about him, and it was over, right?
Yeah.
And so you've taken the approach of content. So it sounds like that's why you're on a podcast. That's why you wrote a book. That's why you share your stories. That's why when someone's in your office, you're an open book. You have questions, ask the questions. You have access to those answers already. Has that been, I don't want to say good for your business, more good for you to just say, I get to go share my story. I can have a Zoom call with someone in the southeastern part of the country. You're in the northeastern part, and you could tell your stories. And I would imagine that's a positive for you to be able to share that story. Again, it's like you said, it's not about the money. It's not about the business, even though that helps. It's about yourself.
Yeah, it's a byproduct.
Yeah.
Money's a byproduct. Somebody once told me money's a byproduct of success. When I need that money, I thought to myself, screw you, give me your money, and then we'll talk about success. But the truth is, once you get to a certain point, like my company, I'm very lucky. The numbers are really amazing. And even with the virus, like God puts the right people on our path. And don't be wrong, the wrong people. I have people come in and they're like, listen, I'm not giving my money to a hairman. Like, I get that. I'm like, I don't blame it. But the right people come in my path and I'm able to help them. And I'll tell you, it's been a byproduct. When I was right about the dollars and cents, it didn't come in. But as soon as I said, hey, how can I be a leader serve? You know that. Like, I don't care if you go back in history, Gandhi, Buddha, Jesus, anybody you look at, leaders serve others. And so if you try to be a service, like it falls into place. Every time I send out to clients, there's a little quote on it, and it says the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And it's a Gandhi quote. But that's the honest truth. When I'm at my best, I'm either at the jail, then going to see a client right after, boom, boom, boom. But if I'm sitting in my office up to my own devices or I'm home just relaxing, it's not where I'm at my best.
Yeah. You're out telling stories and talking to people and making it happen. And I mean, a lot of it is this content. It's just you telling these stories. I think this content's at the core of what you're doing, and where it's going to take you is just sharing the story. And people are going to be like fascinated by it. People might be turned off by it. Like you said, okay, great. Because now you don't have to waste time with that person. If they didn't like you, they were going to like you eventually anyway.
That's the thing. What if they found out? What if they gave me all their money and they found out 6 months from now? Oh my God. And then they're stuck, right? I don't want to feel that way. These people, like I had a guy last year who found out moved all his money. Called me, he was like, I didn't know you were a heroin addict. I said, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't put it on the postcard. I said, but you know what I'll do? I said, I'll get you out. He goes, I can't get out. I go, I'll call in a favor. And I did. I said, I'll give back my commission, get this guy out. I don't want somebody stuck. I mean, they work hard for this money. But more importantly, I tell you, it's just nice to, the best thing is sometimes it's just nice to listen. You sit with clients, get to know. Like, our podcast that we're launching in 2 weeks when we move to our new office is only going to be every 2 weeks. We're going to interview a different interesting client about their life. We have some clients that have really interesting lives. They're in retirement. They see the life you and I see probably. I thought, I'm not that interesting. Let's do this. So,
yeah, that's awesome. And that you are launching a podcast. I think that every business needs to have a voice in some way, whether it's featuring their clients, training their staff, looking to grow their business. That's a huge thing that you guys are doing that. And you said it's going to be one episode every 2 weeks.
You're absolutely right. We're going to do that every 2 weeks. We're also going to do a YouTube show. Now, the YouTube show is a little more content. We're going to do some interviews. It's going to be more stuff that we're going to use broken up using YouTube ads because I want to start doing some online advertising on YouTube. But we'll see. We'll see how that works out. I don't know how cost effective.
Yeah, well, I'd encourage you to continue to create content and find the ways you can do it. I mean, it'll continue to evolve for you. One last thing I want to look back on. people make decisions in life. They make decisions in business. They could be little, they could be major, right? You can end up in jail. You can have total ruin. There's this thing of regret where you make mistakes. My guess is you look back and that's what made you who you are today, right? But it's also different because now you have kids and they're going to make mistakes along the way. And sometimes you're like, man, I wish I didn't do that, right? I wish that didn't happen. And it might not have been taking drugs. It could have been something completely different. It could have been something they said to a friend or something they said to you. You look back and you think about this and you think about regret, or you think about the mistakes that you made or that your family or friends or people that are around you made. How do you look at that? How do you look at regret?
I look at regrets like a waste of time. I can't undo it.
Yeah.
I do. There are things around ways I treated certain people in my life, like whether it was ex-girlfriends or friends back in my 20s that I kind of used disposable because I was busy chasing drugs. I have regrets about that. Like obviously, but it's not regret. It's if I came across them, I'd say, hey, I wish I had treated you better. If there's anything I could do now to make that better, I'd be happy to do it. No, I'm sorry. Everybody heard I'm sorry out of me. But I'll tell you, my kids, I tell my oldest daughter, she's technically my stepdaughter. If I raised you and I do your ponytails, you're my kid. So that being said, I tell her all the time, the only thing I ask of you is to be kind. I can pretty much create the most of your life. If you want to be a teacher, you want to be this and that. I can create opportunities for you. You're very lucky that you have a life that you have because I didn't grow up with this kind of life. But the one thing I ask you is always be kind. If you're not kind, I'll set up every opportunity you'll ever have. And every year they give these awards out of school. Now the whole school, she wins the award for kind. And she says all the time, she says, Ryan tells me the one thing that matters in life is being kind. The one thing I believe truly the reason God's given me another shot and given me the opportunity to help people is no matter what kind of scumbag I was in some ways, I never stole from people. And I was never unkind. I was never, there was fighting and something like that, but I was never really maliciously unkind. I really believe that's really important. I made plenty of mistakes, and there's some things that may have been but not to the degree. It's really important to me to be kind. I was just raised, that was one of the big things my parents kind of hammered home.
Yeah. The things along the way that we encounter and the mistakes or whatever happens along those, that's what shapes you today, right? And I think you handle that, which is what I thought, right? I didn't think there'd be regret there, but there would be challenges that you had faced and you were able to persevere through those and say this is what is making me today. And then to talk to your daughter about kindness being the highest form of wisdom, right? That type of line where just be kind and the rest will take care of itself. Like you said, it's just you do the right thing. The money will come. But Ryan, it's amazing to talk to someone like yourself that has done all that you've done and to share that with us on this podcast. I appreciate you guys reaching out. I appreciate you spending the time to do this. I know you're busy. I know there's a lot of craziness going on in the world right now. So it's a big deal to us to have this conversation. It's a big deal.
No, I appreciate it. It's good for me.
That's awesome, man.
Is there anything I can do for you? Or anybody that you know that's in a jam, let me know.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate it. I know you have a website. You have your book. What's the best way people can get a hold of you?
Honestly, summitfinancialpartners.org. It's the longest website in the world. But it really is. It's the longest website in the world. It's summitfinancialpartners.org. And this plural. They can always reach out my cell phone even. If it's something like that, recovery, I tell people feel free. 617-733-2396. Guy, I'm in a coaching group for business owners. The owner called me. My cousin's in government detox, but I need him in a good program. Yeah, I'll come see you Saturday. If you get a drive today, I go, yeah, if this is what it takes, I'll do what it takes, bud.
Man.
This is what it's all about.
Yeah. Nah, man, I appreciate you sharing all this with us. It's awesome.
No, honestly, it's an honor and privilege. I appreciate you.
One of my favorite things about CADSource is the opportunity to chat with amazing business leaders and entrepreneurs. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you want to connect, you can find me on LinkedIn or visit us at cadsource.com. Thank you for listening to this CADSource production, Entrepreneur Perspectives, building and protecting your business one podcast at a time. This episode exists because of CADSource. CADSource is your content team. You know how many business leaders need help communicating their story? That's what we do. Content strategy, creation, and distribution for business leaders. This provides opportunities, relationships, and a platform for you and your business. Why do we do this? Because at CADSource, we exist to help you create and share amazing content. And yes, you should have a podcast. We'll help you. Learn more by visiting CADScontent.com.